It had been a long week. Between endless emails, back-to-back client meetings, and my manager breathing down my neck about the upcoming product launch, the Friday night work party was something I desperately looked forward to. Our office rarely hosted events, so when they did, everyone went all out: music, lights, laughter, and of course, drinks that never seemed to stop flowing. By the time midnight rolled around, I had lost count of how many cocktails I'd had. I wasn't a big drinker usually, but after such a draining week, I gave myself permission to let go. I remember laughing a lot, swaying to the music, talking to co-workers I barely interacted with. Somewhere around 1 a.m., I realized I had no idea how I was going to get home. I fumbled for my phone in my purse. It was dead. Perfect. No Uber. No battery. No one I could ask for a ride. Most people had already left, and the few who remained were far from sober themselves. That's when I remembered Ryan. My stepbrother. He lived just 20 minutes from downtown, and we'd always been on good terms. Even though we didn't grow up together, after our parents married a few years back, we saw each other often enough to share an odd sibling bond, close but also distant. I asked to borrow someone's phone and called him, hoping he'd be awake. To my surprise, he picked up after 2 rings. "Emma, everything okay?" His voice was groggy but concerned. "Ryan," I slurred slightly. "Can you come get me? I'm at the Bardun rooftop lounge." He didn't ask questions. "I'll be there in 20. I waited outside, the cool air sobering me just enough to realize how ridiculous I must have looked, barefoot now because my heels had given up on me, makeup a bit smudged, hair blown wild by the wind. When Ryan's car pulled up and he stepped out, I could have cried from relief. He opened the passenger door and helped me in. "What happened?" he asked gently. "I lost track. Too many drinks. Phone died. I'm sorry, Ryan." He shook his head as he started driving. "You don't need to apologize. I'm just glad you called." The ride was quiet. I kept glancing at him, feeling both embarrassed and grateful. He didn't judge. Didn't lecture me. Just drove, calm and quiet, his presence oddly comforting. When we got to his place, I expected him to drop me off and head back to bed. But instead, he helped me out of the car and led me inside. "You can crash on the couch," he said, grabbing a blanket. "Or the guest room's made up if you'd rather have a bed." "Guest room, please," I muttered. He guided me there, and I flopped onto the mattress without even changing. As I closed my eyes, I heard him laugh softly. "You're a mess, Em." "Shut up," I mumbled, but I was smiling. The next morning, sunlight poked through the curtains like little daggers in my brain. My head throbbed. I groaned, burying my face in the pillow, trying to remember where I was. Then it hit me: Ryan's place. The party. My dead phone. Everything. There was a knock on the door. "You alive in there?" "Barely." Ryan walked in, holding a glass of water and some aspirin. "You look like someone who fought a tequila bottle and lost." I sat up, accepted the water gratefully. "Thanks for not leaving me on the sidewalk." He shrugged. "You would have done the same." As I sipped the water, I caught him watching me. Not in a weird way, more like he was making sure I was okay. It was rare for me to see that much softness in anyone's expression. I looked away, feeling suddenly exposed. Later that day, after I cleaned up and got my things together, I joined him in the kitchen. He was making grilled cheese sandwiches, his go-to comfort food. I leaned on the counter, studying him. "You didn't have to come get me last night," I said. "I know. But I wanted to." That answer lingered between us longer than it should have. I didn't know what to make of it. "You always take care of people," I teased, trying to break the tension. "Just the ones who matter." His words hit deeper than I expected. I blinked. "You're being weirdly nice to me." He chuckled. "It's allowed, you know." We ate in silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. After lunch, I hung around longer than I planned. We watched old episodes of Friends, argued about whether Ross and Rachel were really on a break, and I found myself laughing more than I had in weeks. Hours passed. The hangover faded. But something else had started to form in its place, something I couldn't quite name. That night, after dinner, I helped him clean up. He was washing dishes. I was drying them. Our hands bumped a few times, and we'd laugh, but each time it felt different. The unthinkable wasn't something dramatic or forbidden. It was subtle. It was realizing someone you'd always seen in a certain light could suddenly look different in a moment of vulnerability. As we sat on the couch again, sipping tea, I asked him, "Why are you being so kind to me, Ryan?" He looked at me seriously for the first time that day. Because sometimes people need to be reminded they're not alone. I blinked fast. I hadn't expected to feel emotional, but I did. Maybe it was the week I'd had, maybe the drinks from last night catching up emotionally, or maybe it was something else. Something about Ryan, his steady presence, his quiet concern, had anchored me. We sat there, closer than we'd ever sat before. Not in a romantic way, not in a sibling way either. Just close. He reached over and took my hand, not dramatic, just a small, comforting gesture. "You'll be okay," he said. "Whatever's going on at work, in life, all of it, you're stronger than you think." I felt something shift in me then. The unthinkable wasn't some scandalous moment. It was learning that the person I thought was just my stepbrother had actually become my greatest support. The bond we formed that night was deeper than any party story or embarrassing drunken memory. It was real. Over the next few weeks, we talked more than ever before. I found myself calling him just to vent or laugh. He'd drop by my apartment with coffee or send memes to cheer me up during meetings. And whenever I needed to feel grounded, he reminded me who I was. My friends noticed. "You're glowing lately," one of my coworkers said. I laughed it off. "I think I'm just sleeping better." But the truth was, I felt seen. Understood. Supported. Months later, after I landed a promotion at work, I called Ryan first. He whooped on the phone, then showed up that evening with champagne and takeout. We celebrated in the same living room where he'd helped me recover from that messy night. Full circle. As we sat on the couch again, I nudged him. "So, do you rescue all your drunk stepsisters from rooftops, or just me?" "Only the ones who secretly want grilled cheese and therapy," he teased. I smiled, leaning back into the couch. "Thanks for being the unthinkable." He looked at me, puzzled. "What does that mean?" I turned to face him. That night, I thought the worst had happened. But it turned out to be the beginning of the best part of my life. Ryan didn't respond right away. Instead, he pulled me into a side hug and said, "Let's make more nights like that, but without the tequila next time." I laughed. Deal. The unthinkable wasn't a disaster or a mistake. It was discovering someone right beside me had become the person I needed most, without me even realizing it. And that, I'd learned, was the kind of story that stays with you forever.